Welcome to the Green Wisdom Health Podcast with Dr. Stephen and Janet Lewis, where you will learn about natural solutions to common ailments. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. Stephen and Janet Lewis.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And today we are going to talk with you a little bit about arthritis and inflammation. The name of this show is called How to Approach Arthritis and Inflammation. And after we all went through the Texas blizzard here a week or so ago, we realized just how much inflammation we had because of how cold we were and how our joints didn't move well. So we thought today we would talk to you a little bit about how to keep mobility and some signs of arthritis, what you can do about it, some of the questions some of the people have asked us about it, and let Dr. Lewis just tell us all about arthritis and why inflammation plays such a big role in that. So, Dr. Lewis, we have a few questions about it. Some people don't understand the correlation between inflammation and arthritis. So maybe you could start there and tell us a little bit about what inflammation has to do with it.
Inflammation's always part of the equation. I don't care what your disease or your symptoms are. The thing is, there's been some confusion or a couple of questions lately about, well, my liver enzymes are good. Why are you taking me off liver support? And I said, well, it's a good idea to take your liver support and or your glutathione or your taurine every day. And the reason is because every day we have a lot to detoxify. And I'm not just talking about arthritis. I'm talking about anything. And detoxification, simply put, is phase 1 and phase 2. Healthy liver is where you have the toxins that are converted by something called cytochrome P450 enzymes, which is at least 100 different enzymes. And what they do, they go to intermediate substances, which is phase 1 detoxification, and then from there it goes into water-soluble substances, which is phase 2. And so those conversions are real complicated, and some people say I get too technical, and other people say, well, can you explain more? And so I vacillate between teaching too much and getting too technical, and then most of you have heard me say, throw it in there and ask God to bless it. Good Lord, you don't have to understand it, and the more you understand it, the less you're going to get well, because you're stressing yourself out. Well, stress can be many things. It can be the air you breathe, the water you drink, or staying out 3 days in a super cold temperatures trying to thaw out your hot water heater. It can be the food you eat, which I'm going to get into that, chemicals that you touch, and you don't have to touch it. You don't have to taste it or smell it for it to be there. Devices you use, which is your microwave, your x-rays, your cell phones, your computer, and very varying degrees of a lot of different things. The pesticides, herbicides, genetically modified crops, which we all eat, although Janet and I try to avoid as much as possible. You can't totally avoid it. Different cleaning products, gardening, pesticides, herbicides, we try to avoid all that, but you really can't. So detoxification of these cytokines or cytokines, which are the inflammatory molecules, and they're studied in cancer as well as just arthritis. Not that it's just arthritis, because if you have that, it's not just arthritis. It is debilitating and horrifically painful, and it increases emotional problems. Janet and I went the whole week in the house by ourselves and didn't yell at each other and didn't yell at the dog. And it's like, well, that's when you know your relationship's pretty good, because we hear from a lot of our patients about, their spouse. Like, well, you might re-examine the emotional toxins that you deal with, because that does convert over or transfer into toxicity, inflammation, and can aggravate arthritis.
Well, the only thing that I yelled at during that week was the Well World app that's your hand-holding weight loss program, because I actually signed up to get on the app because I wanted to see what it sent and be a part of it so I could explain it to people better, because if y'all are not familiar with what we have going, we actually have an app that's $27 and it lasts 28 days. and it will hook into your smartwatch and keep up with what you've, how many steps you've made. You can put what you've eaten in there and the whole bit. Well, it also sends you reminders about things to do. And throughout the week, where we're stuck inside the house with a blizzard, it was sending me little reminders as I had really bad things in my hand that I shouldn't have been having to be eating. And it would say, now remember, if you're hungry, grab a vegetable. I thought, I was like,
and I just stayed the heck out of the way.
I thought it was absolutely right. It told me I needed to move more. I thought, how do I do that when I'm trapped? Would have loved to move more, but it's really a really good app. It really does help keep you kind of consistent about being healthy. It told me to drink different kinds of tea for digestive health. It told me to move around, so my blood sugar got better, and that's the only thing I got upset with over the week was that app, because it was really hitting the nails on the head, and it was kind of exposing my weaknesses I was not doing well with. One thing I wanted to ask you about arthritis, I'm very curious because I see that you can have like arthritic pain that's like a degenerative type thing. And then I also was curious about autoimmune arthritis. I didn't realize that you could get arthritis from an autoimmune thing like gout or bacteria or Lyme's disease, that it can actually turn into arthritis down the road. Can you explain? Are they two different kinds of arthritis, or do they just create?
Well, there's several different types, and when you go to the doctor and say I have a stomach ache, he says, gets that bemused look and says you have gastritis. Well, all he's done is convert stomach ache into Latin, so you have gastritis. Arthritis is inflammation of the joint. So yeah, you can have a lot of different things. For example, smoking is the so-called over-the-counter and socially accepted drug, which I hate smoking, but it's associated with rheumatoid arthritis, which is more into the autoimmune thing, and tobacco, as well as many other things. Don't want to hurt anybody here, but alcohol. Yeah, Janet gave
Don't hurt me. Go right ahead.
Yeah, she gave me the look on that. Alcohol, tobacco, and all these other stresses, can deplete your vitamin C in the liver. Now, folks, pay attention. I'm in my teaching mode. It depletes vitamin C in the liver, where it's used and very appropriate, necessary, and crucial to detoxify the harmful chemicals. And the same thing is acetaminophen, or ibuprofen, also. Acetaminophen's Tylenol, ibuprofen's Advil. And although we use to treat pain of arthritis, it actually worsens inflammation. I want to talk about sugar for a little bit. Sugar lowers your immune system by about 75%, and I've talked about, and there's many studies that say that, but I've talked about one from Johns Hopkins, and the reason, let me tell you why this is incredibly important. Hope you can tie it together, and that's one of the reasons during, say, Thanksgiving or Christmas that families go somewhere and they all get pretty sick, is because most people have increased their amount of sugar. Well, what has that got to do with anything? Well, 75% reduction in your body's ability to have your immune system fight. And vitamin C doesn't really get the press that it should get, because that's an old vitamin, and Dr. Linus Pauling talked about that. I think that was back in the 70s, and how it could help the body combat the common cold. Sugar, what happens is when your sugar gets around 120 or higher, white blood cells begin to lose the ability to absorb and to fight infections. Let's see. You've got your white blood cells that kind of engulf or absorb or engulf's a good term, the viruses and harmful bacteria. And the white blood cells need to contain about 50 times the concentration of vitamin C. Now, the human body cannot make its own vitamin C. Now, there are other animals that can, but not us. And so sugar or glucose, and fructose is worse, has a real similar chemical structure to vitamin C. So when you eat sugar, your cells take in the sugar thinking it's vitamin C. And say 50% concentration of vitamin C, when it gets to 50%, it starts to drop, and your immune system's ability to fight a virus is reduced by 75%.
Wow,
not
really?
just COVID, but any virus. Yeah, so don't, the old saying of eat the cake? No, don't eat the cake for a lot of reasons. But
With no ice cream, apparently.
oh, Jesus. Come on, baby, don't do that. She doesn't want anybody to know she can cook, but she's really, really good. She cooked up some really good snow ice cream. Couldn't understand why it melted when she tried to boil it. I'm just teasing.
Which is one of the only times I ever really have had milk. Which, I noticed that was one of the things everybody was like really upset about, was that there was no milk on the shelves. Doesn't that create an inflammatory type environment as well?
For many people, cow's milk is not a good thing. And the problem is, our big government nanny thinks that, well, you've got to have it pasteurized and homogenized. And if you got it straight from the Jersey cow and it had all those good bacteria in it, it wouldn't be as harmful. And still, some people would have allergies or sensitivities to it. I know what I can get by with. It's not something I should do every day, but that's one of the things you can always think about. And we didn't even plan to talk about our multi-element buffered C or our liposomal C. Liposomal has a better absorption rate, but you need one of them every day, always.
And so that's the autoimmune type arthritis, where that's coming from different problems like lupus and that kind of thing. What about degenerative arthritis? Is that for people? You always think of that's only happening to people that are, say, over the age of 60 or so.
Hey, be nice.
Well, I had to up it a little bit. Over the age of 60, so that I didn't fall into that category.
That hurts.
So. Is it true that it's only for the aging population that they get it, or is that something you can have younger?
You can have it younger, and me being a chiropractor, I understand that real well, and I've been fortunate enough to testify in court many times, and God, these lawyers pay you out the nose to be there. It's like, I guess because I can relate to the jury. If you get a joint that is damaged, and it's, say, unequal, like you're putting more weight, say, on your knee or on your hip joint or different parts of the facets of your spine. So the excess weight causes more degeneration. There's an ion exchange, positive, negative, and the one from the inflamed, damaged joint is the opposite of calcium. So it attracts calcium. That's where bone spurs come from. And, here's my thing. People say, but it's just this knee. It's old age. And now I've done this in court. And this smart aleck insurance company lawyer says, well, Dr. Lewis, don't you think this lady's just got this arthritis because she's 67 years old? And I put my mother's x-rays up when she was 62 in front of the jury. And I said, well, here's my mother when she's 62, similar age, and her neck looks real pretty. And the judge says, Dr. Lewis, take it down, jury disregard, which they can't. And I did that on purpose. I really did. And so the smart aleck insurance company lawyer says, okay, Dr. Lewis, jury disregard. Dr. Lewis's mother, do you think these joints are just because the woman's old? And I said, well, the vertebra above it and below it, the degeneration is the same age, and they look really pretty. So it's not old age, folks.
Good point. And then isn't when you get arthritis, degenerative arthritis, isn't one of the common treatments is the NSAIDs or the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs for arthritic pain?
Yeah, that was the acetaminophen and ibuprofen that I talked about. That actually does temporarily decrease inflammation, but over a long period of time actually speeds up the degenerative process.
Yeah, because I think it exacerbates the loss of cartilage. So if you have problems with that, if that's not an answer, what do you recommend anything? Is there something that someone can take to help to help slow arthritis down? Can you reverse it, or is it just you're going to live with it, or what do you do?
Well, the FDA says we can't make any claims about supplements like, the temple of the Holy Spirit's too stupid to take a nutrient and do some good with it, and most of us know better than that, thank goodness. But can you take stuff, can you reverse it? Yeah, it's hard to get that kind of nutrition in long term. And it's long term, and people, you have to realize that there is a huge difference. When we were running out of some of the good supplements, and people say, "Well, I'll just take the original multivitamin." It's like, if you really understood the biochemistry in that multivitamin, you'd be better off to drink a cold beer. Most supplements out there are like a crazy X, and don't take. So there's some of them that's really bad. So should you take different things? Yeah, I have to experiment with a lot of this stuff. Our Joint Support Max, and I don't know where Janet's going with the question, but it has in it the glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM. It has the BioCell collagen, hyaluronic acid, chondroitin sulfate, hydrolyzed collagen type 2, and some other things such as molybdenum. You don't hear much about molybdenum, but it's very, very crucial in forming the synovial membranes, the capsular ligaments, and tendons, ligaments, that kind of thing. And I was obligated to try it, and I don't think I'm that old, although my granddaughter told me yesterday I was old. Just look at your arm, Papa. I said, well, okay, I'm old compared to 6. That's what she is. I have fewer wrinkles than almost everybody my age because this stuff in the Joint Support Max that I was taking, I could tell in 3 days, oh my God, this feels better. But that also relates to your guts. That also relates to your liver. That also relates to having enough vitamin C to facilitate that and synergistically make it more than the sum of the whole. So yeah, the joint support's really, really good. And then you've got to consider omega-3 fatty acids. And it's very inflammatory, and people don't get in a hurry about seeing results because a good omega, it takes about 2 weeks for all the biochemistry to go through in your body to show or manifest some of the results. And there's certain oils you need to stay the heck away from. I hope I get time for that. Like canola and safflower and corn oil. Stay away from it. If it says trans fats are hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated, no, don't put it in. And you have to take a lot. We have our omega I and joint omegas. It's really good. This is the clean stuff. This is the refined stuff. But in addition to the fish oil, it has organic flax. It has alpha-linolenic, oleic acid, borage seed oil, which contains gamma-linolenic acid. That's one of the weight loss things.
That really helps keep the moisture in my eyes. I take that one. It's different. I do the Omega Supreme that we have.
Right.
And then I also do that other one because I can tell when I don't do that one, my eyes are not as moist.
And some people say, well, I'm not going to take a lot of supplements. And it's like, well, Tara Cooper had a thing that said you're going to pay, cheap food is not cheap. You're going to pay in your lack of health benefits. You're going to pay later. And it's good to spend this kind of money because, I've been on a roll lately that there's been plenty of people here in the last very few months that are my age and younger that have died, and they died knowing the answer. It's like,
oh no, they were interested in getting hair, skin, and nails. I was always amazed by that. It's like you've got all these anti-inflammatory things happening, but you're interested in your hair and your nails.
Or the inflammatory things that you need anti-inflammatories for.
Yeah, okay.
And so, folks, you've got to invest in your health because if you don't, disease and illness is going to come up and kick you in the butt. And, you don't know, we can't, per FDA, we can't make any claims for this, but if it's anti-inflammatory, taking this Joint Support Max or the Omega I joint.
Well, and a lot of people have heard about turmeric as well. Is there a reason why you recommend one turmeric over the other, or is it all about the same, or some of it seems to work, some of it doesn't really seem to work. What can you tell us anything about it that would make it where people would understand what they're looking at?
I got a couple of notes here, and this is kind of to help answer Cricket that asked a question about a knot on her pinky finger.
Oh, yeah. Let me read that to you before you answer that.
Okay.
Cricket had a question that says, I have an issue on my top knuckle on my pinky finger. It's starting to swell. It looks like what an old lady with arthritis does. What can I do to stop it and stop it from going to my other knuckles? So this ties into turmeric, I'm assuming, somehow. Dr. Lewis is putting this all together in his head, and I don't know where he's going.
Oh, well, I don't either. That's why Janet and I decided to go off 2 different sets of notes, because sometimes she surprises me and I have the deer in the headlight look. It's like, holy cow.
And that makes it fun.
Yeah, she likes to control me, as most good women do. Behind every successful man is a very tired woman, and that's Janet. Yeah, turmeric is a good one. Also, Cricket, you could wrap that knuckle in organic castor oil. Yeah, I didn't tell Janet about that. But turmeric is really good. What it is, the curcumin is the yellow pigment in turmeric and is actually the active ingredient. It fights the free radicals. It protects the liver against toxins. Well, we've talked about liver detoxification. It inhibits platelet aggregation. Excuse me, helps lower cholesterol, improves blood vessel, has antibiotic qualities, anti-cancer qualities, anti-inflammatory, which is the COX-2 enzyme, which, I didn't get into that, but trust me. It's good for all arthritic conditions, and it's been shown actually to stop the proliferation of rapidly dividing cancer cells. It's been under investigation for a lot of things like use in pancreatic and different cancers. And pancreatic's a bad thing. Usually you're dead within 18 months of your diagnosis. If you're lucky, you live 18 months. But for psoriasis and Alzheimer's disease or any neurodegenerative disease. But here is the key, folks. Please listen to me on this. There's a lot of people say, oh, well, take my turmeric. My turmeric's better than your turmeric because it has piperine or black pepper extract. Here's the deal, and I've talked to different people about it, people that are probably more intelligent than me, only very specifically, and I had one guy, I said, explain it to me. He said, well, yeah, here's people are told, well, it increases the amount of turmeric in your blood. The piperine or black pepper extract increases turmeric in your blood. And he says people just jump on that like that's a good thing. And I said, yes. And I've read the research, and there's plenty of it that says it makes you allergic to the turmeric and you can't absorb it. He says, yes, but he said, furthermore, it increases it in the bloodstream. But what they don't tell you is that it stops it from carrying the free radicals or the oxidative stress compounds out. So it's in your blood but can't be excreted. There's an old saying of statistics don't lie, but statisticians do. Folks, just because somebody tells you something, you need to either think it all the way through or get somebody you trust to do it for you. And as much as I try to be super educated, but I rely on other people, and I say, great, I love what you're saying, prove it, show me the research. I'm researching this for you. I promise you I am.
Well, speaking of researching, it kind of leads me to another question I have, because, arthritis, many times you can use magnesium, like topically, the cream that'll help take some of the pain and inflammation out. But another part of this is that I wanted you to explain, when you say you're researching these different things, we recently changed our formulation of magnesium. Can you tell us why you went to a different kind, what happened, what was going on that made you think, well, maybe it was time to go a little bit different direction with what you were carrying?
We've been blessed, and God's always good to us. It's amazing what blessings we get every day, multiple blessings. But we've been blessed with people that have stuck with us through a massive amount of change over the last 2, 3, 4 years, and especially the last year because of the COVID scare. although not any more people's dying since COVID than the year before, but look at the CDC for that and then figure out what's really going on. But we've had people that have stuck with us, and because of the COVID scare, people say, oh my God, I got to take these supplements all of a sudden to try to boost my immune system, and the good companies have been running out of some of the raw materials. And so we've made some changes because of that, and sometimes we change just because, I've got to go to another good company in order to get it and to have it available, and that's why some of the multivitamins have changed. And magnesium is really, really good. I don't know. I've got a note here. It says some government entity said we're 47 or 54% of us are deficient in magnesium. It's like, well, I've read the government said 94%. So, you know how smart the government is if they think we're that insufficient on our magnesium intake. But we went to recently something called Active Mag Ultra, and it's got the the mag citrate, which is the TRAX. TRAX stands for the real amino acid chelate system. That is the stuff, then Janet will tell you it's 20 times stronger. When I'll say, well, it's 20 times more absorbable, so you have to worry about absorption too. But then it's got the magnesium lysine glycinate, and if you've taken the magnesium glycinate, because I've talked a lot about it, and I told you I would rather get the company that will include it in the other magnesiums. Well, we found a company that will. And the glycinate is very important because it's chelated to a glycine molecule. And glycine is one of the major amino acids that is a kick-butt way to detoxify. It is awesome because glycine begins to take away the glyphosate or Roundup out of your system. You remember I said something about GMO crops? Those are the ones that are full of glyphosate or Roundup. For example, we have 6 times more glyphosate in our blood than a European does, and you wonder why we're so sick and fat as a nation. And Janet and I have been through several countries in Europe and China, and it's true. We are definitely sicker than these other nations.
So although the new magnesium is slightly higher than what they were previously paying for the magnesium, it now includes the magnesium glycinate, where some people were buying a bottle of each one.
Yeah, but you can't look at the price because you're getting 20 times more absorption, so you're getting a whole lot more for what you're spending.
Does that mean you can take way less of it than what you were?
Oh, maybe a little less, but, I'm a man. If a little bit's good, more's better. I'm sorry, us men kind of think that way, which may not be true. You women can tell me if I'm right or not.
Well, the dose is 2 twice a day, I believe, on it. Magnesium does over 300 functions in the body, so you really don't want to cut that one short, I wouldn't think.
And it has to do with blood sugar control. Remember what I said about sugar lowering your immune system.
And so you can actually help arthritis pain also with a good magnesium, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got young men that are like in their early 30s that work their butt off, and I say, well, Janet threw in a bottle of magnesium to our favorite son-in-law yesterday because he works and he takes care of our daughter, and he's a really sweet guy. She said, I'm forcing this on you. Take it at night at the very least.
And he's got beautiful blue eyes. And anybody out there that's got those really pretty, bright blue eyes, those are the ones that you better watch the most for arthritic conditions, because that means they've got a blue eye. The white in it, which is making it bright.
Think Paul Newman eyes.
Is acidic or inflammation. So those people tend to have more joint pain.
They have a genetic tendency toward more arthritis than, say, people with brown eyes who have more of a genetic tendency to have a liver toxic.
And we've watched it over the years because we've seen like some really good-looking people with bright blue eyes, and then when they get older, it's like they're having a hard time. Their movement is not as good. You can tell they're more stiff, and that's something that could have been helped along the way, right?
Yeah, we saw a doctor come out of the restaurant yesterday, and he has those, oh my God, gorgeous blue eyes. All his patients think he is the bomb, the dream. And he didn't take our stuff. He said, well, your digestive enzyme hurt my stomach. And it's like, you either find an excuse or you find a way. And it's like, well, we could have worked through that. So people that get excuses, they don't get good results. And I could have really, really, really helped him. And we saw that he was limping, and he's younger than me. It's like, holy cow, you've gone downhill in the 3 or 4 years since you've done that. So all these things, and even the digestive enzymes, can very much lower your inflammation. It's very, very important. And we use a lot of quercetin bromelain, not really as a digestive enzyme, but it lowers inflammation if it's taken on a relatively empty stomach. Otherwise, just take digestive enzymes.
And probiotics, correct? I think probiotics have a whole lot to do with that as well.
Probiotics are absolutely incredible. And just briefly, I mean, this is, I like research. Vitamins are antioxidants, and they reduce inflammation. For example, vitamin E, it has to be a good one. That's from Journal of Annals of New York Academy of Science. Vitamin D, you want to get it up around 75 to 100. That's from Journal of Arthritis and Rheumatology. Vitamin C, that I talked about, Journal of Arthritis and Rheumatology. Vitamin B, the B vitamins help the liver detoxify through methylation pathway. That's from Journal of American Clinical Nutrition. Vitamin A and beta carotene from British Journal of Nutrition and Journal of Archives of Internal Medicine. So
there's basically a whole lot that you can do to help arthritis and inflammation. One of the best places to start is by doing the low-cost lab work. There are markers in the lab that we can see that you're headed toward those type of things before you get there, or if you already have it, we can see why.
Yeah, so, and sometimes it manifests in different ways than that also, but we can get a heads up and see the future, so to speak.
So go to greenwisdomhealth.com, fill out the health survey. If you've not done it in the past, get started. We can run your lab locally close to you, whatever town you're in across the United States. And those of you that are patients, if you haven't done your lab in a while, it's probably time to do that again. We like to have it checked at least, preferably every 6 months, a year max. And then, Dr. Lewis, we have come to the end of our show again, and I'm wondering if there is something you would like to share with people before we leave.
Yeah, rabbit trails. The thing about it is we have to cleanse ourselves of negative thoughts. You want to always think of what's possible and what's bright and what's cheerful. Being optimistic has never caused eye problems. And think about the basis of society basically begins at home. And part of that is loving yourself enough to take the steps to be healthy. The purity of the soul really cannot be lost unless you approve it to be lost. And, there's a scripture that says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And that's why I'm pretty blunt about what I say. My intention is always clean, always trying to help. My delivery may not be, but, we do love you, and we are so, oh my God, grateful for people like you. For Penny that talks to Tara that says, and they make you feel special. Yeah, we love you all, and I'll bust my butt answering emails from 6:30 in the morning till 9 at night, on weekends, on vacations. I'm there for you, but love yourself enough to make a life worth living.
That's great. You guys have a blessed week. We'll be here next time on the Green Wisdom Health Show.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You are only one step away from a life worth living.